Hey everyone, hope you're all well. Today we've got Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit with Dave Grohl on drums, and we're going to get right into it. So, here's the intro. Okay, intro. We've got 3 bars of that iconic guitar riff kicking off the track, and then we've got this intro fill that Dave Grohl kicks off. So, we've got single strokes between the right hand and the right foot, which are going to go like this. Build that up to speed first. You're going to need it a little bit quicker than that because the song is 118 beats per minute, so we're roughly looking at that kind of speed. Once you've got that, we're going to move the right hand onto the hi-hat in between shots. So we're going to go like that. Once you've got that down, flams on the snare. Spend some time getting that nailed. It does come back later on in the song where we need the flams coming off the rack tom as well, which can be a little bit awkward at the time, but we'll cross that bridge later. We're going to count that for 1 E-ander, 2 E-ander, 3 E-ander, and then on beat 4, we've just got flam on the snare, kick on the kick drum. So played slowly, that bar is... That's all for the intro, on to the main riff. Okay, onto the main riff of the song. We've got the chorus drum beat, so this is going to feature heavily throughout this tune, and it's probably the hardest part of this song. The reason why it's going to be difficult for some beginners is the double kick that's needed within it. So you're going to have a technique that looks something like this. A technique that I tend to refer to as toe heel, rather than heel toe. Only because it's the one I've used for like the entirety of my drum life. If you use heel toe and you find that easier, power to you, go for it. But what I'd recommend for the beginners out there that aren't used to using these doubles is have a look at that technique. I'm not going to go through it too much in this lesson because that's a whole other lesson by itself. But isolate beats 3 to 4. So you can isolate this part of the groove. Please note I'm playing a closed hi-hat on this just for demonstration purposes. It is open on the actual track. And you're going to gradually build the speed up with this. So you've got something like that. Now, piecing the whole bar together, you're going to gradually add bits to it. Now, you might find that 3 E-ander 4 is going to be tricky, and if that's the case, practice your doubles first. Then you can maybe take the E to the 4, so you've got more of a... So left, kick, kick, left. Then you can add the 3. And then you can probably start incorporating the bar, although you might want to go for the of 2 into that, so you get... And that's how we're going to build up the hardest part of this groove. So... breaking the entire bar down, we've got 2 crashes. Dave Grohl loves hitting some crashes, and he's more often than not hitting both of them at the same time. And when I've seen him do this live, he's hitting it on every single bar. Lots of noise, fantastic. So we got 1 on the crashes, kick drum on the of 1 into the 2, and then the on the snare. We've got that little kind of complicated bit in the middle of it, which I've just been through. And then we've got 4 and on the kick. So it's going to go slowly. Something to note about the right hand. You're only playing quarter notes on this bar. There is absolutely no need whatsoever to put extra notes in between. It's a problem I see quite a lot of people, but it's just a bad habit that I don't want anyone developing, where if you're playing quarter notes, don't put kind of they're not ghost notes, obviously that's something quite different, but this extra movement in between. We want you thinking in quarter notes on your right hand. So your right hand should smoothly be playing quarter notes. Rather than eighth notes in the air, if that makes sense. Okay, on to verse 1. Right, verse 1, one of the more basic beats in the song. We've just got kick, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. It's going to be 1 and 2, 3 and 4. At the last part of the bar, 4 and, we've got an open hi-hat that then closes back onto beat 1 of the next bar. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's going to sound like this. If we go from the second bar of that loop. When you're opening up the hi-hat, I haven't got a camera on it because I've run out. You're going to have your heel slightly up. If I demonstrate this on my kick drum, you're going to have your heel slightly up all the time when it's closed. When you open the hi-hat, you drop your heel back rather than lifting your foot up like this or even off the pedal or anything like that. Just going to go from here, rock back, and then shut forward again for beat 1. So you're going to go like that. Going to repeat that 2-bar loop 5 times. We get into the 6th time, we're going to open the hi-hat up on the beat 4 of the bar, on count 4 of the bar. Like that, rather than on the end of 4. We're going to let that hang all the way to the bridge where we're going to close it, snap it shut on the crash cymbals on 1. Let's do the bridge. Okay, onto the bridge. We've got exactly the same thing as the verse, except we're going to go on to open hi-hats throughout. Kick part stays the same for the first 4 bars, and we've got crashes on the 1s. What you'll notice with the transcription is that there are no hi-hats on the and of 1 for each of these bars. I've mentioned this before in previous videos. It's a really common thing with rock drummers, and quite common throughout drumming, to be fair. When you hit a crash cymbal on the 1 and you've got lots of 8th notes to follow, it's just kind of easier to miss that and out. When you're first doing this, it's going to feel really awkward because most people train to do, that, which is absolutely fine. You can still do that, but once you get used to this feeling of coming off the and of 1 and landing back on the 2, it's a lot easier and feels a lot smoother to play. So slowly that bar is going to go. Okay, so the first and third times were right. The second time I actually put that 8th note in. It's nice and easy to do when you're playing it slowly. On the second set of bars, the second line, 5 bars, 5 to 8 of that section, you know what I mean. We've got same thing again, but the kick drums are going to increase. So we've got kick drums on the 1 and 3 and 4 and. Sorry, 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and. So you're going to be going. It's increasing the intensity in the song, building up to that chorus, which is about to kick in pretty soon. So, last bar of that section, we got this fill. Single strokes between the right and left hand, and the kick drum is going to follow the right hand predominantly, so you get something like this. When we get to beat 3, we've got a kick drum that comes on the of 3. So from 3, we've got, which is 3, E, and A. Into a flam, and then a kick on the and of 4. So that bar slowly. Like most things, start it off nice and slow. What you might find is that your kick drum and your right hand may start flamming. Either one of those two, so you get kind of like that kind of thing. That's super sloppy, and we do not want to encourage that by any means. So slow it right down and make sure that your right hand and your right foot are hitting it exactly the same time. It is going to take practice, but it's well worth it. Let's get on to the chorus. Okay, the chorus is exactly the same as the main riff that I described earlier, so if you want more details about that, go and check it out. We're going to play 8 bars of that main riff, and then at bar 41, we're going to head our right hand onto the crash cymbal. Nothing else changes within the groove. We're just going from here to here. We're still going to be putting crashes on the beginning of each bar to accent every single one of them, and then we've got something slightly different on bar 44, I believe. Yes, bar 44. End of the chorus. Some additional snares on 2, 3, and 4. So slowly that's going to go. More double kicks as well. Another reason to get that technique down. This is going to bring us into our first tag, which is just like the end part of the chorus, essentially. Not quite a bridge, definitely not mid-late, just an extra little bit. Let's do that now. Let's not do that now. Let's do a better explanation of bar 44. Okay, so on bar 44, we've got something slightly different. We've got some additional snares on 2, 3, and 4, and we got double kicks on the ander of 2 and 3. So we got 1, a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and. It's gonna sound like that. Played slowly with the crashes. One, a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and 1, a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and. More doubles on the kick, another reason to get that technique down. That's going to bring us into our first tag. Let's do that now. Okay, tag number 1. Quick note about this, when it comes to sextuplets, which is what we've got from beat 2 to 3, that's what that little 6 is, it means that we're going to fit 6 notes into the space of a quarter note, so 2 to 3 in this case. There's no universal way of counting this, and anybody who's seen my videos before or had lessons with me know I'm big on counting. So I've come up with a series of numbers and letters for anything above 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, and so on and so forth. So for 6s, we've got 1 EB Andaka, 2 EB Andaka, 3 EB Andaka, 4 EB Andaka. So on beat 2, this is where you've got the EB and ka written in there. It might look a bit weird at first. That's what it means. So if we're counting this, we're going to have a snare and a hi-hat on the 2. That's going to last an 8th note, so 2 all the way to the and, but we could put EB in there just to get the sextuplet starting to count. On the Andaka, it's going to be a right-left on the rack tom and a kick on the ka. On the kick drum. Kick on the kick drum, a right foot on the kick drum. So, into 3. 2 EB and a ka 3. And that's going to be in the middle of that bar. So, going from the beginning slowly, we're going to have. With that first bar, we've also got 2 crashes on the 1, kick on the and. the little section I just talked about with the sextuplets. We're then going to close the hi-hat on the 4. So we're going to let it hang on beat 3 until we get to 4, which is when we snap it shut. Exactly the same as before when we're closing the hi-hat. We're just rocking our foot back and forward. I'll show you on my kick drum. We're just doing this. We're not doing this. As soon as you start lifting your leg, when you're playing hi-hats or kick drums and all that kind of stuff, if you start lifting from your hip flexors like this, you'll notice that your body wants to move as well because you're counterbalancing. You want to avoid this. Just if you go onto your toes and your heels, you can keep this relatively still. Much more relaxed, much easier to play like this. So bar 2, going back to our intro idea with these single strokes between the right hand and the right foot with additional flams and hi-hats. We're doing the same thing at the end of this bar on beats 3 and 4, but we're moving the second set up onto the rack tom. Like that. So that bar played slowly is going to go. That's going to bring us into another repeat of the first bar with the sextuplets in, and then the final bar is like the end of the main riff and the end of the chorus. We've got, sorry, just the main riff, not the chorus. Where we're closing that hi-hat, snapping it shut on the end of 3 with the right hand, which I think I forgot to mention in the main riff. So hopefully you've watched this as well. And that's going to bring us into verse 2. Tag 1, played in its entirety, is going to go like this. That's going to bring us on to verse 2. Right, verse 2, bridge 2, chorus 2. Exactly the same as I described earlier, so please check out the earlier links in the description if you want to see this part of the song. Tag 2 is very slightly different at the end. It's all pretty much exactly the same, except the open hi-hat that we play in the last bar of the tag is going to remain open for the guitar solo, so there's no snapping it shut on the end of 3. So that's going to bring us into our guitar solo. Okay, the guitar solo is exactly like the main riff or the bulk of the chorus before we move on to the crash cymbal. We're going to stay on the hi-hats, quarter note pulses all the way through it. The only difference really with the guitar solo is that on the second bar, surprisingly enough, Dave Grohl does not hit crash cymbals. I don't know whether he just wanted it to settle for maybe 2 bars, or maybe he just forgot and was getting carried away. Who knows? But he misses the crash cymbal on the second bar, and he's back onto him for the beginning of every bar after that. When we get to bar 100, the last bar of the guitar solo, we've got another fill going into it with just an extra 16th note in there. So that last bar slowly is going to go like this. One other difference on this is that open hi-hat, you'll see what's called a slur, which is that line that's going to go all the way through from 3 all the way to beat 1 of the next bar. We're going to leave the hi-hat open over that fill and close it on beat 1. So that fill from beat 3 is just right, left, and we're going from the hi-hat on the snare drum. So you're going 3, E, and 4, E, and into beat 1 of verse 3. Which is exactly the same as all the other verses, so no need to go over that again, as is bridge 3. And that's going to bring us into our final chorus. The only difference with chorus 3 is that we're not going to change the last bar this time. We're not going to be doubling up with the snare drum, playing more doubles on the kicks. We're just playing another set of that chorus riff on the crash cymbal. That's going to bring us to our outro. We've got a completely different drum beat. So let's do that now. Right, the outro, bar 1, 3, 3. Doubling up with the snares like we've done on the first couple of choruses on the last bar. So we've got snares on beats 2, 3, and 4. And then we've got a kick drum quite similar to the intro fill on the kicks. So we got that kind of feel. So played slowly, we're going to have this. So 1, 2, 3 E, 4 and 1, 2, 3 E, 4 and. On the penultimate bar, exactly the same thing again, but on beat 4 we're going to have a flam, and then a kick on the and of 4, and then crash for the finish. So, played slowly, we're going to do, let's do 3 bars of the main groove, 1 bar at the end, and then the actual final shot. So we're going to go. That brings us to the end of the song and the end of this tutorial. What I forgot to mention right at the beginning of this video, and I'll probably have put some signs up for that. There's a free PDF for this, and the link is in the description. So feel free to download, follow along. If you've got any questions, comments, or queries, or general musings, or anything you want to say, drop them in the comments below. And until next time, I'll see you again. Have a good one.